This is Anthony Douglas for AEP 855, Module 4, the Kansas Education System Accreditation. There are three really questions in this module to discuss and to go over. And so the first one, I was able to sit down with our building principal and assistant principal and kind of talk about the Kansas Education System Accreditation program and process, and really how it's driven more not just from the school standpoint, but more for the district. And then the district allows each school to embrace and figure out how they're going to implement the district's strategic plan. In USD 259, they've come up with a 2018 through 2023 strategic plan, and it consists of preparing students, empowering students, and allowing them to believe and achieve in who they are and what they're going to do. And with that, there comes some shared visions and some shared beliefs. And really, it comes down to four items to make sure this happens. And it's been passed on to the school and to the community. Those four items are to increase high school graduation, to increase third grade reading assessments and proficiency, to increase the number of students who have dual credit or concurrent credit with local schools and universities, and to make sure USD 259 schools are trusted places to send their kids to school and trusted places for students to learn. And so, with that, each principal in each building have been given the task to take those four items and to take those visions and to find ways to implement them. And so, our principal and I were talking about, and we had a conversation about the fact that those four R's in those rubrics are kind of subjective even within yourself. So we feel like at Wichita North High, there's a strong relationship, great relationships with students, great relationships with teachers, teacher to teachers, teacher to student. Where we probably lack is parent to teacher or teacher to parent, only because of some language issues or language barriers. And so that's hard. Relevance wise, we feel like maybe there's some areas we could do better in instruction as how we can make their learning more relevant for what they're going to do in the real world or what they're going to do when they leave North High. And in doing so, we respond to the high school dropout rate that we have and to help increase our graduation rate and to make it relevant. If they want to be there and they know why they're there, they know why they're learning it, then they tend to show up. We looked at the responsive culture rubric. We felt like in that rubric we scored really high, only in the fact that we embrace every culture possible. Wichita North is considered and consists of one of the higher Latino schools in Wichita, USD 259, and we've embraced that. Things we do, the activities we do, center around the Latino culture. But there are some subcultures within that that get left out, and we should probably do a better job of embracing those as well. The fourth R in the rubric area that we talked about was rigor. This was an interesting conversation because rigor depended on and was subjective to the teacher and depended on the student and depended more on the subject area. There are certain departments that have higher rigor and scaffolding than others. There's no real uniform way to do it or how we went about that. So there's a conversation where we need to do a better job of doing the rigor there. We talked a little bit about her leadership style and her leadership approach. She will tell you, and she likes to be in control. She likes hands-on. She likes to be engaged. So it's more autocratic in that area, being in control and not letting go of some things, but not really letting go, but wanting to know what's going on and being aware of what's happening. The other one would have been the contingency theory, in that she really looks at the situation and figures out, okay, now what is it we need to do here? But at the same time, what's board policy and what's the protocol? And looks at the next situation and kind of takes one at a time. There's no real blanket answer for everything, which was really nice. And you could see that in talking to her, but then in some situations with different students that have come across in the past couple months, whether it be discipline or behavior or academics, she's handled them all very fairly, but also very differently at the same time. The third area was asking the school improvement areas that I identified. There were two, and how would I approach those areas to improvement? There were two. I think we need to do a better job at our relationships. We need to do a better job of connecting with students, knowing their story, knowing who they are, where they come from. There's a lot of hurting kids in our building, in every building. But what is it we can do to make sure we have healthy relationships so those students understand what healthy relationships look like and they know that people care for them and can do something to help them? Um, the second area would have been rigor, to increase the rigor, to increase the consistency of the rigor, and to make sure that there's a consistent message of here's what's expected, here's how we're going to go about it, here's what we're doing to make sure that happens. So the PSEL standards I would use would be really threefold. There's three of them. One was to make sure that culture, there's equality and culture acceptance, and embracing that and showing that there's an embracement there, to make sure that people understand this is who we are, this is what we want to make sure these are who these kids are, but this is the community around us and we want to serve them and embrace the people group that we serve. The second one would be to make sure that everything is very meaningful instruction. There's got to be a meaningful instruction that the kids get what we're teaching, but also that they're able to apply it at some point in their life. And then also the third one would have been the curriculum, instruction, and assessment standard. That way we're able to measure what we're doing and to see the effectiveness of it, to make sure that we're meeting not only those 4 R's, but that we're improving in what areas do we need to improve on and how can we be better at what we're doing in serving students.